Welcome to Dreamy Tales, where the magic of stories meets the tranquility of sleep. I'm Sarah, and tonight, I invite you to let go of the day's worries and join me on a peaceful journey to the land of dreams. Find a comfortable spot, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to drift away as we explore a tale designed to soothe your mind and calm your soul. Relax, unwind, and let's begin. The Secret of the Whispering Wind. In the small coastal village of Wind Hollow, there lived a boy named Theo. Wind Hollow was a quiet place, nestled between rolling green hills and the edge of a sparkling sea. It was a village where everyone knew each other, where the sky was always open and wide, and where the wind never stopped blowing. For as long as he could remember, Theo had been fascinated by the wind. It wasn't just a breeze to him, or the gusts that rattled through the trees at night, it was something more. It was a voice, or at least, that's what Theo believed. When he was very little, he used to think that the wind was alive, that it could talk, if only he could learn how to listen properly. And while the other children of Wind Hollow spent their days running through the meadows or swimming in the sea, Theo would climb the hill behind his house, sit in the tall grass, and just listen. The wind always seemed to have something to say, even if it was in a language Theo couldn't quite understand. Sometimes it whistled through the leaves, soft and melodic, like a song from a far-off place. Other times it howled and roared, as if telling a story of adventure and danger. But there was always a message there, hidden in the rush of air through the trees, in the way it made the grass sway and the clouds dance across the sky. Theo would sit for hours, eyes closed, letting the wind wash over him, imagining what distant lands it had come from, what tales it carried with it. But no matter how hard he listened, the words were always just beyond his grasp, until one fateful evening. It was late summer, and the air was warm with the last remnants of the day's sun. The sky had turned a deep orange, fading into purple as the first stars began to appear. Theo had climbed his usual hill, sitting in his favorite spot where the grass parted just enough to give him a perfect view of the ocean in the distance. As he sat there, something unusual happened. The wind, which had been blowing steadily all day, suddenly stopped. The leaves on the trees below stood still. Not a single blade of grass moved. The world felt unnaturally quiet. Theo frowned. He had never known the wind to stop in Wind Hollow. It was as constant as the sea. He stood up, looking around, puzzled by the stillness. And then, just as he was about to head back down the hill, a soft breeze touched his face. But this time, it wasn't just a breeze. It carried with it a sound, a voice. Clear and unmistakable. "Theo," it whispered. "Theo, come with me." Theo froze. His heart raced. Had he really just heard that? He looked around, expecting to see someone, but he was alone. The breeze brushed past him again, stronger this time, tugging at his clothes. "Follow me, Theo," the wind called, the voice gentle yet insistent. Without thinking, Theo obeyed. He began to walk, letting the wind guide him. It blew softly at his back, urging him forward, down the hill, past the familiar woods that bordered the village, and toward a path he had never taken before. The sun had fully set by now, and the stars glittered brightly overhead, casting a soft glow over the landscape. The wind picked up speed, and Theo quickened his pace to keep up, his feet moving over the uneven ground with surprising ease. He walked for what felt like miles, the village far behind him, until the landscape began to change. The grass grew taller, the trees denser, their leaves glowing faintly in the moonlight. He had reached a place he had never seen before, a forest that seemed alive with magic. The trees were tall and ancient, their bark silver and their branches stretching high into the night sky. The leaves shimmered softly, as if touched by stardust, and tiny glowing insects danced among the branches. The air was cooler here, and the wind seemed to sing as it moved through the trees. Theo had never felt anything like it. It was as if the whole forest was alive, watching him, waiting for him. "Theo," the wind whispered again. "This is the enchanted forest. It has been waiting for you." Theo stepped cautiously into the forest, the leaves rustling softly underfoot. As he moved deeper, the trees seemed to close around him, not in a threatening way, but like they were guiding him somewhere. The wind curled around him, gentle and protective, leading him down a path of glowing stones. It was as if the forest itself was lighting the way. After what felt like hours, Theo came to a clearing. In the center stood the largest tree he had ever seen. Its trunk was massive, its bark shimmering with an ethereal light, and its branches reached so high, they seemed to disappear into the sky. The tree was ancient, its roots twisting deep into the earth, and at its base sat an old stone pedestal. Upon the pedestal was a harp, no ordinary harp, but one that glowed with a soft, golden light. The strings shimmered in the moonlight, but some were broken, hanging limp and lifeless. "This is the heart of the wind," the voice of the wind said, its tone full of reverence. "It is the source of all my whispers, the reason I can sing my songs and tell my stories. But the heart has been silent for many years. A mischievous spirit has stolen the notes of its song, hiding them throughout the forest. Only you, Theo, can bring them back." Theo's eyes widened as he approached the harp. He had always known the wind was special, but he never imagined it had a heart, or that he would be the one to restore it. "How do I find the notes?" Theo asked, his voice full of wonder. "The forest will guide you," the wind replied. "Listen closely, and you will hear the notes in the sounds of the forest, the rustling leaves, the bubbling streams, the laughter of the sprites. But be careful, for the spirit who scattered them will try to trick you." Theo nodded, determined. He had spent his whole life listening to the wind, and now it was time to prove he had learned its language. His first clue came from the trees. As he walked deeper into the forest, he heard a faint melody drifting through the air. High above, nestled in the branches of a tall tree, a silver note glowed softly. It was being guarded by a flock of birds, their songs blending with the melody of the note. Theo climbed the tree carefully, his heart pounding as he reached for the note. The birds sang louder, but not in anger, in encouragement. They wanted him to succeed. Gently, Theo took the note, and the birds flew away, their song lifting into the night sky. The second note was hidden in the depths of a crystal-clear stream. As Theo waded into the cool water, he saw it glowing beneath the surface, caught between two smooth stones. The water rippled softly, humming a tune as Theo retrieved the note. The stream seemed to sing with joy as he held it in his hands, the water flowing gently around him. The third and final note was the hardest to find. It was hidden in the laughter of the forest sprites, who darted between the trees, their tiny glowing forms flickering like fireflies. They giggled and teased Theo, dancing just out of reach. But Theo was clever. He knew the sprites were playful, not mean-spirited. He listened closely to their laughter and realized that one of their giggles held the last note. With a kind smile, he asked them for the note, and the sprites, delighted by his kindness, handed it over with a twinkle in their eyes. With all three notes in hand, Theo returned to the great tree and the heart of the wind. As he approached, the wind swirled excitedly around him, urging him forward. Theo carefully placed the notes back onto the harp, and as he did, the strings began to hum with life. He strummed the harp gently, and the air filled with the most beautiful melody Theo had ever heard. The wind, now stronger than ever, carried the song high into the sky, its voice clear and joyful. The trees swayed to the rhythm, and the creatures of the forest danced in celebration. The heart of the wind had been restored, and its music would once again travel the world, filling the air with stories and songs. "Theo," the wind whispered, its voice full of gratitude. "You have given me back my song. For that, I will always remember you. From this day on, whenever you hear the wind, know that it carries your name in its melody." With a heart full of pride and wonder, Theo returned home, the wind at his back, singing its soft, beautiful song. From that night on, whenever Theo climbed his hill to listen to the wind, he no longer heard faint whispers. He heard the full, glorious melody of the heart of the wind, and he knew that the magic of the enchanted forest would live on forever, in every breeze that touched his face.